Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining this conversation with me today. Let's debunk a little bit of taboos and misconceptions that I've been hearing about sex and sex magic in a spiritual community as well as in the witchcraft community. This is a subject that has been really dear to me, especially for when it comes to spiritual hygiene. It's something that we have been talking about a lot with some clients and I, especially in the empaths session I've been doing, because for those of you who don't know me, it's very nice to meet you, by the way. My name is Elizabeth Cieslewska, and I've been a tarot reader online. I've give tarot counseling sessions, and I've been accompanying a lot of empaths as well, owning their abilities, because I do believe that being an empath is an ability. But yeah, I've been seeing some very interesting conversations lately about the topic of sex and sex magic in relationship to spiritual hygiene. And there's a few things that I think we should be talking about to remove some kind of taboo filter over, if you will. So now, just as a disclaimer for you guys, I'm not here in this video today to tell you to do anything about your sex life. If you already know me and have been following my work, then you know that I'm a big advocate for self-sovereignty, and I do feel that your sex life is something sacred to you. It's something that needs to be meaningful to you. And I do think that it's one of the first problems that we sometimes encounter in a spiritual community for when it comes to this topic, because I've seen some YouTube videos online and some Instagram posts that are what I call, in my own opinion, like sex shaming, because those people are low-key trying to discourage people from having casual sex, from exploring an open relationship if that's what they feel called to do. And some videos out there, even from very popular creator, and I was very very stunned about that and surprised, to say the least. I've even seen some videos out there shaming masturbation. And for me personally, I find that very out of place. I find that even patronizing as hell, just because you make a choice to choose abstinence, or because you don't personally believe in polyamorous love, or because you're somebody that thinks about your future wife or your future husband while masturbating and keeping your thoughts very pure, or just because you personally decide to not watch porn, which I believe is a very large topic. Like, I don't even want to talk about that in this video right now, because I feel like it's such a multi-layered, like very complex subject. And there's so many different, like, I guess, spectrum to it. But the point is that I don't think that, well, I think that it's very good for you if you can do any of those things, right? But I do think as well that it doesn't make you into someone that is spiritually superior or morally superior in any kind of way. And I think that this is the conversation we need to have more as well. This is something that we definitely have to remind people, because we all have our personal beliefs surrounding the topic of sex. We all have our different connection relating to it as well. And I find it funny that sometimes it's like the human nature is almost removed out of the equation, right? And because ultimately humans, we are animals. We have an animal instinct. And now that's not to say that the animal instinct is an excuse for any kind of abusive behavior like that, obviously. Yes, we are civil, and we're civil for a reason, right? Because us humans, we're animals, does not excuse dangerous behavior. And we need to protect ourselves, and we need to also be conscious about the partners we choose as well. We need to be responsible and, choose partners that we feel safe with and protected with on a physical level, like on an emotional level, and on a mental level as well. We need to respect ourselves enough to allow us, right, to pick partners that bring this sense of safety. But now, one of the biggest, most problematic thing that I've seen out there, for me personally, all right? And this is a tough one as well, because sometimes that's a topic we can also discuss, right, in personal readings and on a personal level. But this problem has been relating to this speech circulating out there, that when you're having sexual intercourse with someone, you're basically exchanging energy with that person, right? You're basically merging, if you want, like life force energy together. And then there's this whole warning element that comes to it, right? Because if you have sex with someone, then it would mean that you could absorb their traumas, you could absorb their negative energy, you could absorb the energy of their ex, you could absorb the energy of the neighbor, what they ate for breakfast, the hamster, right? I'm just joking here, but you see my point. And nothing wrong if you believe that this is your truth for you personally, right? There's nothing wrong also in recognizing that in the past it might have happened to you, where you recognize that in the past you may have absorbed some kind of energy from a past partner in sexual intercourse. This is definitely something that I recognize myself about my past way before, and that's something that I later on addressed in my own spiritual journey. However, I do feel like this belief becomes dangerous when it's spoken about in a general sense and when we sort of apply it to every situation. And why is this dangerous? Well, first of all, I do feel that it attaches a lot of fear to sex. And that's something that unfortunately happened with religion in the past, right? Where having sex for pleasure or having sex outside of marriage was considered a very sinful thing. But even beyond the fear that this belief can generate, I do also feel like it's also almost the equivalent of saying to someone that has gone through sexual assault or sexual abuse that they have absorbed the energy of their aggressors. And I plain don't believe that. And for me, I think that it's not true at all. And I believe that this kind of speech removes the power away from the victims of sexual assault. Like, I do think that it removes your own power too, as a spiritual practitioner, as a person, right? Even if you have never gone through sexual abuse. And I plain don't believe that. I do believe that we can control the areas our energy goes towards. Like, we can control the things that our energy allows in as well. And I think that if we don't have control about where our energy goes or what is allowed into our energy, that's actually a boundary issue. That's because we have a boundary problem and we don't know how to separate our energy from that of someone else. And I'm seeing that from a perspective of someone that has lived that has gone through that. I used to be this person that would let myself absorb all kinds of different external outside energies, all of those energies that I didn't even want in my own, until I've discovered that just because I had a physical exchange with someone didn't mean that I needed to have that emotional exchange with them. And it didn't mean that I needed to have a mental exchange with them or a spiritual exchange with them. And that I needed to, sort of like attach this cord in between my heart and this other person's. And because that other person was perhaps choosing to attach a cord in between their heart and mine, didn't mean that I had to in return. Unless it's something that we both decided upon, right? Unless it's something that we both agreed upon and consented to do together because we would want to do that. I do feel like we can completely control where our emotions wander off, where our thoughts wander off. And that's the thing, like our mind will wander off to these so many different wide variety of places, right? While we are having sex, like it will go to these so many different places. Sometimes it will go in a moment, right? And the energy that we're feeling in that moment, how we feel about our partner in a moment. But sometimes our mind space will drift to completely other places that doesn't have any link with what we are doing in a moment. Sometimes it will drift off into our stress, into our worries, into past memories, into comfort, into discomfort. Sometimes it will drift off in these very intense feelings that are connected to what we do, but that don't have any link with what is happening in the now necessarily. And you know what? That's part of sex magic to me. And I know that we often speak of sex magic from that lens, that it's like this very ceremonial thing, right? This very ritual based thing, concentrated around manifestation, where we use that kind of build up energy or that orgasmic energy to direct it towards some kind of manifestation or petition or intention that we wish to send to the universe. But sex magic is so much broader than that to me. Sex magic can be so much more. It can be many other things than just manifestation. Sex magic can be also healing, and it has been for me. Like for me, my biggest part of my sex magic practice, it has been related to healing, and it has been related to shadow work. And I definitely do feel like there's a big place for that in sex magic. And that's something that I want to expand your lens on about this topic today as well. And to me, the sex magic when I'm alone tends to be very different and very oriented towards other kinds of magic than when I'm having sex magic with a partner. And I tend to find out when this practice is with a partner, it tends to be very focused towards healing for me personally. In the past, I've done some of the most intense healing and introspective work of my life while having sex. And some of the partners with whom it happened never knew about it. They don't know about it, and they don't have to know about it because it's none of their business, right? It's really what was happening within me at that moment. It was my own personal process that I was going through in that moment. And it was a very sacred pocket of time for me. And obviously my partners don't have to know all of my personal internal business, right? My healing journey, their healing journey. Like for me, this is so important to establish that line. This boundary is so important to me because I know that I've allowed this boundary to breach before and it created a lot of problems in my life. But just to resume to you guys, because I appreciate you guys. We're having a fun moment right now. We're just chilling together and just having like a very cool conversation right now. But yeah, I've healed so many things. I've healed my femininity. I've healed through allowing myself to surrender to someone else. I've healed through allowing myself to receive. And that's a big one for me. That's a really big one. And I think I'm just going to stop right there because if I go much into more details about that, we're just going to be sitting here still tomorrow because this one goes really deep for me. But yeah, I do feel that sex magic can also be profound healing work. I also think that it can be shadow work related, right? And the thought processes that I went through and that journey through sex magic, the processes of different feelings, mixed feelings I've been through, and everything that has been going on within me. Through that, I often found many interesting opportunities to heal deep stuff within me that I had never confronted before anywhere else. And I think that most of this stuff is so dearly personal to me. And of course, it can be shared, right, with your partner after or before. Especially if you are with a partner that is open to these kinds of stuff. It's amazing, and it can be a really magical, almost bonding moment to talk about these stuffs. But as long as everybody is being respected, everybody is safe, there's no need to talk about these kinds of things if you don't want to, and if they are deeply personal to you. And that's okay too. You don't have to let everybody that you're sleeping with into your own deep secret garden. And that's the thing about sex magic, is that it can only be for you. Even when you're with a partner, it can only be for you. And it can be that little capsule of time just for you. And it can only concern you and that very intention that you're cultivating in that moment. And that's all right as well. There's nothing wrong with that. And actually, for me personally, I kind of expect that the other person that I'm sleeping with is going to go through some kind of similar process on their own, right? They're going to have their their own experience of what is happening, and they're going to have their own processes with that experience. And now we'll need to accept that. You know, I believe that people have sex for so many different reasons, and it's not always to merge energy with you. To be honest, like it's not always either like a very deeply spiritual reason for them in their mind either. It's not always the case. But your internal experience can be very different than your external one. And especially if you're someone that is working at healing their sexuality through sex magic, it can be a deeply liberating thing to realize that and to understand that. And so I really wanted to make that clear with you today, my friend, because I know that it's like spoken about like in so often, right, in the spiritual community, that sex is that energetic exchange. Well, guess what? It doesn't have to be if you don't want it to. Pause and rewind that. It doesn't have to be if you don't want it to be. Okay? And you do have power as to where you decide to let your energy go. And you also have a power towards what you decide to allow in your energy and what kind of energy you wish to receive, right? Because that's something so cute that my partner said as well, because I was talking to him about this subject, that I wanted to make a video about this week. And he told me, well, that's interesting that people, you know, think about that. I definitely think of like sex as like this, you know, like etheric kind of like bonding. But then he told me, but what about if you can absorb the good energy of the other person too? And I was like, you're so damn cute. Like, that's true. Like, why not set, like, if you really love the partner you're with, right? Why not set the intention to only kind of like absorb the good vibes, the good energy of them? That's something you can control, I believe, as well. And that's something we do not talk about. We often talk about like absorbing energy as though like it's this very negative experience, right? But I do feel that sometimes when you wish to contaminate someone with your joy, with your love, with your passion, it can also be a wonderful thing if you choose, you know, to like let in some of that mutual energy and that bonding and that connection. Clarifying what kind of energy you're blocking, what kind of energy you're allowing, that's part of boundary work. And I definitely do feel that sex magic can be a ground for that. It can be a ground for practicing boundary work as well. So I hope that this discussion has been insightful for you guys. I definitely feel curious to know what you're thinking about. Definitely leave your opinions and comments down below, and I will get back on you on that. 'Tis the month of February, and so I really wanted to concentrate this month particularly to the topic of relationships, love, self-love, and things like that. So if you're all about that kind of jam, definitely subscribe and stick around. You also have my social medias down below, as well as my the link to my online store if you're curious to check out my work and see what I do in life, and perhaps even think about booking a private reading with me eventually. It would be a pleasure to be working with you if that's the case. But for now, I wish you all a beautiful rest of your day. Mwah.